We found our way back inside the bowels of the Ubisoft booth, and we're here with Michel Ancel, creator of such famous characters as Rayman, which you're returning to now in Rayman Origins. What's it like to come back to Rayman?
Oh, you know, it's like going back in time, because I did Rayman in 1993. I started that game. So it's like retrieving the sensations of this 2D art style, you know, in terms of gameplay, but hand-drawn graphics. And I really like, because it's really refreshing, because we've been working with 3D polygons and virtual worlds, and now it's back to art and the essence of game design, you know, because the platformer genre, it's very precise. You're really focusing on the gameplay, and with the addition of the new technologies, you know, HD, 4-player co-op, and all these things. So it's cool.
Yeah, looking at the art style for Rayman Origins is quite original and beautiful. Where did the inspiration for the art style come from?
Oh, you know, the art of Rayman Origins is really the art of the people that are working on it. We're working with painters, concept artists, traditional animators, and they've got their own, you know, style. And for Rayman Origins, we've been working with a young woman. She went out of the school called Les Gobelins in Paris. They are doing a lot of short animated movies, and she really gave this specific touch to the game. And same thing for the characters. So it's really personal, you know, all that looks. And I really like working with artists and letting them express themselves in the game. And 2D allows us to do that, because it's their direct drawing and emotions that's in the game.
Rayman lately he took kind of a backseat to the Rabbids there for a while after the first Rayman, Raving Rabbids, but now you're back to him again. What is it with Rayman as a character that makes him special and that makes us that's seen him over the years always remember him?
Yeah, you mean what are the specificities of that character? Yeah, you're right with the Rabbids, because when I designed the Rabbids, you know, I wanted to have this villain with a lot of personality. And Rayman was a bit, you know, at the there is a kind of personality battle between Rayman and the Rabbids, and I like to come back to Rayman and to focus on the character, because he's been very popular, so he's got his own personality, and now we are really trying to focus on this very energetic character, you know, jumping in every crazy action without thinking. I like this without thinking things, which is really connected to action in a platformer. You want challenge, you want, and at the same time you've got the sidekicks that can be your girlfriend, your friends. They are able to jump in the game, play with you, whatever level skilled they are. You know, doesn't matter. They can play. You can help them or not, because so I like this very simple character that's really connect with the gameplay.
Yeah, speaking of the sidekicks, it's a 4-player co-op experience. What can you tell us about the sidekicks? What kind of characters have you created for them?
In fact, we've been looking at the most popular character in the series. So you will find the blue guy, which is Globox, strange name. It's a character that was in Rayman 2 and Rayman 3. You have the Tinsies, Rayman 2, Rayman 3 too. And you can play those characters now. They were very popular in the Rayman series, and now you can play with them. They've got their own specificities, and it's creating a kind of family effect, you know, or band or gang. You know, you are with those 4 characters that are destroying everything on their way, and that's really funny to have all these characters playable.
2D platforming or 2D playing in general, after, as you said, we had all these polygon characters, had the big 3D worlds. But lately we've seen, especially downloadable titles such as Outland or the Super Meat Boy, bringing back kind of the 2D platformer. What is it that makes that kind of gameplay special, and even now in 2011 so popular?
Yeah, it's very interesting because that's the same reason why you're still doing SMS. You know, you still type in text and using emails. Each medium has its own interest and its own specificities. You know, 3D is not covering everything. You have camera issues with 3D because you don't see everything. It's not the same thing. In 2D, you can really focus on where are the other characters, where are the bonuses, the challenge. It's like playing in a map, in fact, in a 2D map. You have the control. And that's why 2D is still very appealing. Plus the addition of the high definition graphics, it's still, you know, attractive, immersive, so that's okay.
We've also seen lately, well, a rise of alternative ways to control our games. We saw it, of course, in Raving Rabbids for the Wii, and we have Raving Rabbids Kinect coming out as well. What do you think about them in general, and when it comes to their place in, for example, 2D gameplay?
I think, as a gamer, I really like when the device, when the interface is connected directly to the game. Sometimes playing, I don't know, a FPS with the fingers, it's not as fun as with a joystick. And at the same time, playing Angry Birds, for example, you know, or tactic games with the finger is better than with the joystick. So if you play FPS with the mouse and the keyboard, it's better than, you know, etc., etc., etc. And I think that there is still room for every kind of game, unless you make sure that you're using the right interface for the right gameplay. So those interfaces are bringing new gameplays, but sometimes they're not better than the simple joystick. That's why in a lot of games you still play with a joystick and buttons, because that's just the perfect way to play those games. They have been made with those interfaces and are still fun. But that's cool that these new interfaces are making possible a lot of different games. If you look at the new Nintendo console, it's a kind of mix of all those things, because they wanted every type of game to be playable on their console, in fact. That's plus new possibilities.
As a game designer, when designing games and seeing a console like the Wii U, any ideas that directly springs to mind? Any thoughts about the new controller?
You know, as game designers, as each time we have a new hardware that is really new, not just an extension or just really new in terms of possibilities, we feel like an empty space, facing an big empty space where everything, new things are possible, new directions. So we just need the time to, you know, to think, okay, now with that thing, okay, I've got all those possibilities, and I like this feeling as much as I like the cool feeling of knowing everything and, you know, making better something we already knew. So both situations are cool, and honestly, I really see games that could involve the tactical elements you have by touching and having a kind of map and things like that, you know, because you have this double view, you see the game, you see the map, and you can interact very quickly on both. All these things are possible now.
Another classic game that you were involved with, speaking of going back in time a bit, Beyond Good and Evil just received an HD edition, or well, a few months ago. How's the reception been? What's it been like to see Beyond Good and Evil come to life in HD again?
It was a cool opportunity to play it again with my kid and my son. And it's really cool because it allows a new generation of players to play it, but in HD. Some things are old in that game, but some things are still good. And it's still interesting to see how much people can be immersed and can get into this world, the world of Being Good and Evil, even if it's a game that has been done for a couple of years now. So it's encouraging us to continue working on that license.
Yeah, and that brings us to the kind of the elephant in the room. Now, actually, yesterday you commented on that we won't see a Beyond Good and Evil 2 in this generation, but you're still working on it?
In fact, this generation of consoles is interesting for games like Assassin's Creed, but for Beyond Good and Evil, we want the world to be open, and we want the player to be able to reach every places he can see. and have details in those places. That's why we are trying to find the best console to allow us to do that.
What do you think it is with Beyond Good and Evil that makes people like me who loved it when it came out and really like a 10 out of 10 game? What is it with that license and that world that makes people like me constantly ask you about Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Maybe that's the same thing that makes me making that game. It's, you know, a game when you put the DVD or when you download it, whatever, or the Blu-ray, you don't really know where are the bounds of that game. You know what is going. There is a kind of magic in it. The music, the graphics, the different type of gameplays that are mixed all together. They're just creating one experience. It's not a genre. It's not. It's just an experience. It's just a world. You jump in that world and you expect so much things, and there's so much promise. That's why this game is taking time to be done.
But that's a 3D world. Can you actually, do you think that a 2D world can deliver the same kind of experience, the same kind of feeling of promise and the premise of the world?
Yeah, that's funny because 2 hours ago you had Eric Chahi, the creator of Another World. I don't know if you have played that game. It's a 2D game, very immersive. You have a friend, you have a complete story. It's a game which is now 20 years old, and that's one game that's really influenced me a lot. And yes, it proved that it's possible to have this feeling of immersion in that game, and I think everybody should play that game. It's a precursor to Beyond Good and Evil.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Nothing could keep these two apart.